All right, so now I'm sure that you guys all hate me enough at this point for talking all kinds of shit about Dead Space 3. So now let's talk about what was great about Dead Space 3. I'm sorry to say, but the list of positives about Dead Space 3 are much shorter than the list of negatives.
They're
Um,
not that big.
that's yeah. This is not a huge list. It's a good size, but it's not huge. It's yeah. Anyway, so how I'm defining this is just what I consider basically everything that Dead Space 3 did that was great. Things that just need to, if there's a Dead Space 4, I want all of these things in Dead Space 4. That's how I'm
Hmm.
defining this. Number one, zero gravity flying. That's awesome. Dead Space 2 introduced it. It's great. Just do more of that. It's awesome.
There's
Uh,
really nothing much more
yeah,
to say
there's
about
I
that.
don't really know what else I can say about that. It's great. It's good. Do it again.
Just
Number
more zero gravity flying in general.
just
It's good, but
more zero gravity in general, really.
yeah, that yes,
Okay, number two, freezing to death. That was also really cool. When we first crash landed on Tal Volantis, how we had to like run to like fire
yeah.
to like heat up.
That was a completely new mechanic that was just horribly underused.
Yes, that was so good. Like we were talking about this before we started recording, but I thought about it, and freezing to death essentially is the same thing as running out of air. Like you just replace fire with an oxygen tank that you need to run to refill your air. You replace temperature with air, and it's the same thing really. But it was awesome.
It was just new and like
Yeah,
it was
they
just new.
yeah like it was a new thing, and that was new things are good, and they did it well.
Yes, new things that are done well are good. That's
High
what we
five,
meant to say.
Visceral Games. Uh, Number three on my list is interchangeable weapons. I liked, like again, I know I talked a lot of shit about the weapon upgrade system and stuff, but I liked that you could swap your weapons, and I just generally I just love customization.
Yeah.
I love that you can change things around like that. It's awesome. Like I said, the weapon upgrade system could be amazing. It could be the greatest thing to ever happen to Dead Space, but unfortunately, it just kind of fell short in Dead Space 3.
But the whole concept of just having whatever secondary attachment you want, that's just a good
Yes.
thing in general.
Yes, freedom is good. Come to America.
America.
Um, Number four on my list is the art style. It's amazing. There were a couple of parts, like when you first got to Tal Volantis. Well, no, you saw two of them in the demo, really. But there's just some like really great landscapes that are
Yeah.
drawn. Like it just looks, yes, it just looks so good.
Yeah. There should be more of that though. That was definitely not as much of that.
Yeah,
And yeah, it makes sense that you're a lot underground a lot of the time and
yeah,
not really able to see that. But overall, the game looks pretty good.
yeah. When there is a big thing to look at, it looks amazing in this
Yeah.
game. Essentially, um, I have number four. Number four is the art style, but like, I wasn't like super blown away by like. I guess what I should have written that as is like the environmental art style.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Wait, what settings did you run the game at? Medium or high?
I think high, but I was
Oh.
running it at 1280 by 720, 30 frames,
Uh.
because I have to for YouTube. So yeah, I'm suffering for you guys. And see what
120 frames.
you see what I do for you guys. But yeah, the environmental art was extremely good.
Yeah.
I don't really know what else I can say about it. It was good. Those guys who did those models, give them more money. Give them more
Yeah,
money.
they
Give
did a
them a
really
lot
good
more
job.
money.
Just the graphics in general, they were good. They weren't amazing, but they were good.
Yeah, they weren't fucking Metal Gear Solid 4. They weren't Ground Zeroes, but they were all right. They were up to par. I didn't think that the game had bad graphics at all. Okay, so that's it for art style. Art style in parentheses environmental art style. Number five, free roaming, which was pretty much only a thing you could do in the beginning. The beginning, like it kind of, you had like a bunch of other like ships that you could explore. The fact that it just gave you that freedom and allowed you to just go wherever you wanted, that was awesome.
it's
more that
even though it's free roaming, it's not really because
it isn't. Yeah, it isn't. It isn't really free roaming in the sense that it's like an open world, but that they give you freedom to go and do
yeah.
things in whatever order you want. That's not quite. That's not quite free roaming. That's not quite a free
it's
an
it's
open
like
world.
limited free roaming.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just like freedom. Freedom in general is good. Just allow the players freedom to do things their own way is good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wish there would have been more of that. It would have been. I could see like, well,
if they utilized the second tram, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, actually, yeah. That's. I wonder if that's actually what the purpose of the second tram, the tram on Tau Volantis, by the way, the underground one. I wonder if that's what they had in mind when they put that there.
I don't know.
Because that's essentially
maybe.
what the ship was that you used to go to the other ships.
That's exactly what the ship one was. It looks the same.
But you couldn't use it.
Sadly.
That wasn't. It hurts my soul. Okay, anyway, so yeah, more freedom, more ability to do things the way you want in the order that you want. Freedom is good. Number 6 on this list is voice acting. The voice acting was extremely good in this game. I've been noticing that a lot more in like these later games. Like somebody who's got a lot of money, who makes a lot of the decisions, is dumping a lot more money into voice acting. Fucking, it was extremely good in this game. Give those guys more. Give fucking Carver and Isaac's voice actor. Give them a lot more money. Danik too was also really good.
Yeah,
Danik was extremely good.
It felt like fucking like there were actual people behind it. Like they were. Yeah.
That's what made the cutscenes like so amazingly good. Fucking even the captain's voice actor was extremely good. I thought.
Yeah. Even though he sounded like a Disney character, but.
Yeah, but he's a good actor. Like they're getting fucking amazingly talented people to talk into microphones as they record lines for a video game, and that's awesome. By the way, I know this game isn't out yet, but check out one. I don't know which one it is, but it's one of the Lost Planet 3 trailers.
Oh yeah.
Has the most amazing voice acting I've ever heard in any video game ever. It's not even that the cutscene is like so amazing and it just blows your mind. It's just that the caliber of voice acting that was put into it, especially from the main character, it's so good. Like I've never heard voice acting like that in a video game. What the fuck? Oh my god!
I would say it's better than the David Hayter for Snake, just by a little bit. David Hayter's Snake is amazing, but
David Hayter is amazing. David Hayter's gonna hate her. Oh, I hated that I just said that.
Oh my god.
But yeah, anyway, the voice acting in this game was fucking amazing. That's you see, that is the kind of quality I would expect from a game from EA. Yes, I want more of that quality from EA. I'm just sad that nothing else in the well, maybe not nothing else, but so much of the rest of the game didn't measure up to the caliber of voice acting that was put into this. I want to love EA. I want to. I'm trying.
They're failing though.
They're making it very difficult for me. But anyway, I guess this kind of also ties into my next point, which is all I have written down here is just Carver. Give us more Carver. We want more Carver.
Is an extremely good character.
His character was insanely good in Dead Space 3. Like, he was right all the time almost. Like, he was just okay, aside from when he was all depressed and he was like, I'm gonna die after I'm done with this and all that. Like, he really was Isaac's balls. Like, every time Isaac was all depressed and sad and blaming himself about something he shouldn't be blaming himself, Carver was there to snap his ass out of it and fucking talk some sense into him. Like,
I really like his story arc. Like, just like, except for the end, everything about him was awesome.
Yeah,
except for his whole like crazy past, and he has to like redeem himself, and he's like pushing Isaac.
You know what though? I still kind of think it was a little bit stretching it to think that. To say that this was Carver's only motivation in his life. I mean, Carver kind of struck me as like this very like well-grounded character who had like a really good head on his shoulders, and it kind of doesn't fit if you think about it in that way to also say that after he's completed this mission he's just gonna die.
Well, not that, I mean, but like his whole motivation of like redemption.
That also
I love that. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
It is, but like he's so strong in the game,
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden he becomes so weak at the end.
that was. I'm labeling that to failure plot twist, but overall Carver was awesome.
Yeah, like it's weird because Carver and Isaac kind of swapped places, more or less, kind of within the same few hours of the game.
Yeah, that's true.
They like totally like Isaac was the one cheering Carver up at the end because Carver was like, if I don't make, like, all of a sudden he's thinking like, oh my god, I'm gonna die here, I'm not gonna make it.
No, he wasn't really thinking that. He was more like, you know what? I want to die here. I accept that, but I want to fucking get this shit done no matter what.
No, he didn't even say I'm gonna get it done no matter what. He was like,
Well,
hey.
before he asked Isaac if I die, make sure you do this. Before that, he was like, I'm gonna get this done no matter what.
Yeah,
that
and
was awesome.
I would have liked him to have kept that. You see? Hang on. Oh my god, my brain just exploded. You know what? I always bitch about badass characters in video games. Carver did it perfectly. He was badass, but he wasn't a dick and he wasn't a douchebag. He was yes.
He was believable is what it was.
Yes,
and
he was
relatable.
believable and relatable. That's exactly what it is. So many video games have like badass protagonists that you just can't relate to.
Or
Yes!
over the top.
I have a great fucking example that I can just point out from now on. Oh, I love you, Carver. I'm
What?
gonna give him a hug.
He'll like punch you in the face. No. But even then, well, for games like Bulletstorm, I just like it for the gameplay. I don't really care about the story.
I genuinely I can't do it like the same again. I know I've said this to you a few times, but in the same way that I can't watch those retarded shows that are on Adult Swim now. Not all of them are retarded, by the way.
There's
Some
no
of them-
redeeming quality for those types of shows because I can't play anything. I can't do anything fun with those shows.
Yeah, you know, I actually watched a YouTube video today. It's kind of ironic, but I watched a YouTube video. It was Ricky Gervais talking on the channel. He was talking for the channel The Big Think, and he was basically talking about his thoughts on comedy. And what he said was, and I totally agree with this, and I never really thought about this before this video, but good comedy doesn't necessarily just make you laugh; it makes you think, and that you think about it is what makes you laugh. Like, good comedy has a sense of truth to it, and you can relate to it in some way. It's not just some outrageous, stupid, retardedness. Like that's exactly my problem with like the humor in Bulletstorm. It's just so outrageous and out there. Like, really, sushi dick? What? I'm gonna kill your dick?
I ignore that and I focus on the gameplay is what I do.
I guess the thing for me, I just can't ignore that. Like, I can't. Like, could you really honestly force yourself to watch, and could you really overlook that? Well, I guess it's kind of not really a fair comparison.
I have gameplay to redeem it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Like, if you're watching bad TV, there's really all you're doing is watching TV and listening to the characters talk. So if you ignore that, then you might as well not even be watching it. But I guess if you're playing a video game, you can ignore that and just have fun playing the game and all the good gameplay elements and all that. But
which
I guess
ties in kinda to the next point.
Kind of, yeah. It does. Actually, it does. Combat. By the way, hang on. I want to expand a little bit more.
Go
on Carver.
Go ahead.
Carver. He's a great character. He's a badass character. Finally, a video game has done an overtly badass character correctly. You can make a character badass and cool and amazing, and also not have him be a total douchebag. Devil May Cry developers, fucking Bulletstorm developers, Infamous developers, Prototype developers. Carver, fucking Carver. Carver.
Alright.
Carver.
Combat.
Carver. And he was red
Combat.
too. He was also red, like Zero. So fucking Carver for the win forever. Carver for president of the universe. Okay. Anyway, combat. As
Combat in this game was the best out of all the games. That is like just the mechanics. They're just the best in this game.
I was about to say that I think it's actually been pretty much the same for all the games.
Well, I mean, it's the same with like the overall combat, but I mean the mechanics are just like tighter.
What? You really tighter?
Yeah.
I felt like it was tight, but I at the same time I also felt that for Dead Space 1 and 2.
But I mean, I didn't
really feel
like
an improvement.
Super like crazy improvement, but it's an improvement for me.
You really? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would have to. It's been a long time since I played Dead Space 1 and 2, so I would have to play those again. But
I don't know. Maybe for me, but the movement in Dead Space 1 and 2, when I was like aiming and stuff, like strafing, it felt a little clunky, just tiny bit. I don't know.
I can kind of see that maybe. Maybe. I would really have to play it again, but yeah, I can kind of see where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just the combat in general, like it's always been pretty solid, and in Dead Space 3 it was great. It's very good.
Yep. It's getting a little stale now, but it's good combat.
Yeah, it seems like they were just relying too much on combat in Dead Space 3 and not enough on just weird, crazy stuff. Like in Dead Space 1, there was like a couple of rooms that had like a shitload of those gravity panels that if you walked on them, you just died. That was cool.
And all the times where you're aiming, where like the tentacle grabs you or something, you're upside down or getting dragged.
Yes. Oh my God.
More of that. I don't understand why they didn't put any of that.
Yeah, that was like one of the every single person who has played Dead Space 1 and didn't know about that part beforehand, when you were walking through that hallway, that giant tentacle comes out from the other end, it grabs Isaac by the legs and slams him on the floor, and then he picks up his gun and he's aiming at the tentacle. You were like, oh my God, this game is the best.
Yeah, that was freaking awesome.
That was amazing. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
More of that. But anyway, combat.
I want to get to this a little bit later, but if you have not played a previous Dead Space game, I'm pretty sure you're gonna like this combat a lot. But for Dead Space veterans, it's gonna be more of the same.
Yeah.
It's just more of the same.
More of the same, but I'm not really.
The weapons don't make it as good as like the new weapons in Dead Space 2 were like it gave this like.
In Dead Space 2, they made
what's this word I'm looking for?
Impaling was a lot. I think they stressed it more in Dead Space 2, much more.
I don't know. Maybe they just ran out of ideas in Dead Space 3 for like guns and new and unique ways to deal with combat.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
I think the reason that you think the combat is stale is because everything that the combat encompasses, like weapons and ways to fight, like how in Dead Space 2 you could impale enemies now. I don't know if you could do that in Dead Space 1. I don't really remember. But they changed things. They added things in Dead Space 2. In Dead Space 3, they just kind of kept everything and they didn't add anything.
That's exactly how I feel. Everything's the same. It's getting stale for me after playing Dead Space 2 twice, Dead Space 1 twice, Dead Space 2 once, and now a fourth time playing basically the same combat, even though it's a little bit better. It's getting a little stale for me.
Yeah, I like how we're talking about how the combat is stale, and that's in the positives list.
But I mean, if you haven't played, it's solid, but it's just the same.
It's solid Snake combat. It's good. it's good. It's far superior to a lot of other games out there. It's good combat.
But we've just done it so many times, so right now.
Good combat, but if they could, I really hope Visceral Games finds out a new way to go about combat, or at least give us new weapons to combat enemies with. Okay, anyway, point number 9, and again, these, in our opinions, these are becoming more severe. So the first thing we talked about was zero gravity flying. That's not really a big deal, but it was a good thing that Dead Space 3 did. Number 9, hallucination segments. There needed to be so many more of those. They were we talked about that before, but it's awesome just that Isaac is doing one thing and Carver is doing a completely different thing.
And it just forces this whole like, dude, what's going on with you type of thing.
Yes.
Like which is amazing for co-op because you have like somebody else to talk to where you're like you have no idea what's happening with them and they're like trying to explain it to you.
Yeah,
That's
like,
awesome.
what I was thinking, like, before I started playing Dead Space 3, I was thinking I was probably most likely going to play through the game twice just to experience the game from Carver's perspective and then again from Isaac's perspective. But now I see I'm actually really lucky that I recorded playing from Carver's perspective.
Yeah.
Because Isaac has like you were saying, like one hallucination throughout the whole game, maybe two.
Hmm.
Carver has like a shitload of them.
All the
So,
co-op missions are Carver hallucinations.
yeah, essentially. Like, yeah, that. But the idea that one character is doing one thing and the another character is doing something else. That
It's
was
not
really
a
cool.
terrible puzzle.
Yeah, when it wasn't a bullshit puzzle, like me fucking being stuck in the necro world, not knowing what to do. When it's not that, even if it's just me hallucinating in some other world while I have to be protected and defended by the other character, that's really cool. There should be more of that, or there should be more. You know what it is? There should be more variety between Carver and Isaac.
Yes. Yeah.
And I guess
More variety is the theme of this.
yes, yeah. Isaac needs to hallucinate more. Isaac needs to get crazy a little bit more in this game. That's all we're saying. Okay, so the biggest positive point about this game, the best thing about Dead Space 3 is, drumroll, number 10, the drop-in, drop-out co-op mode. I don't even think I could really enjoy this game alone nearly as much as I did playing co-op.
And this brings up a glaring problem with the game. When your game, the only good thing about it is because the only good thing about it is when there's another person to talk to. That's the best part of your game, really. Something's wrong with your game.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Like, co-op is just a game mode. It's not something Dead Space 3. It's not something specific to Dead Space 3. It's not something that Visceral Games came up with. It's just a generic mode that a lot of other games have. And the fact is, co-op just by its own design is just, it's more fun because it's fun to play with your friends. It's fun to have that experience with other people. That's why we fucking get together and watch TV with each other. That's why we all hang out with each other and watch basketball or something. It's just
and
fun.
it's kind of like, there you go ahead.
It's fun to do things with your friends. But what Serta was saying was that, like, when that thing that is, it's just really hard to mess up co-op. It's hard to have co-op mode not be fun. And when that is the best thing about your game, that's saying something about the rest of your game.
Yeah.
Like, that shouldn't be the best thing about your game. That should be there's no way that co-op mode isn't an awesome thing about your game unless you completely fuck it up. But yeah, there should be other things better than just that you can play with your friend. Because like this is a big problem I have with Dark Souls. If there was this kind of co-op in Dark Souls where you could just jump in and jump out and just experience the game with your friends, even if they drastically fucking ramped up the difficulty, if you could just play with your friends and talk with your friends as you're playing the game, that would make the game instantly like so much more fun. 1,000 times more fun because co-op is amazing. It's awesome.
And it's not even really like for this game, aside from the hallucination segments, co-op, the developers don't have to do much for it. They barely did anything for it.
That may be saying a bit too much. I mean,
I don't know. I'm being a little critical right now, but the times where you can't shoot the necromorphs off your friends to help them.
Yeah.
They were definitely terrible co-op puzzles that just drag it down, really.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
you definitely need to do a lot more work to add a co-op mode into the game. You definitely need to design the game with co-op in mind. I should say you definitely should design the game with co-op in mind. But what Serta just pointed out was that there are a lot of things that should be improved, like drastically improved with co-op, that just aren't.
Yeah. Most of the fun from the co-op was just
Maybe
me and Randy-
maybe saying a lot of things is maybe that's stretching it a bit. I don't know, but yeah, like definitely it's a different game. Co-op, it's a different game. It's a different experience, but it's just it doesn't feel enough like fucking co-op mode. It feels a little bit more like single player with another person, I guess.
It's definitely, if I were to compare this to another game, Randy will be so happy about this. This is nothing compared to how co-op was in Lost Planet 2. Lost Planet 2 did co-op so well.
Lost Planet 2 has amazing co-op. Game is so underrated. Please,
Yes.
if you like my videos, all of my subscribers go out and buy Lost Planet 2. Buy it today. It's like $20.
It just did it so well. Like, that's a game that a lot of people should like try to like mimic in terms of co-op.
Yes.
That game did it way like just amazing.
Dude, the fucking train boss. The train boss in the desert. Oh my god, that blew my mind. I want to play that now. I want to turn on my PS3, put Lost Planet 2 in, and play that train boss fucking now.
But even then, a lot of the other stuff they definitely did. No doubt about it. They designed that game with co-op in mind, and they definitely made it amazing with co-op.
Yes, is it really just that the matchmaking is so bad? Is it just that the servers are bad? Is that really what brought Lost Planet 2 down so much? Because
yes,
so many people have such a bad opinion of that game, and that's like the only really bad thing I can point out about Lost Planet 2.
Some difficulty spikes. That's also pretty. A lot of difficulty spikes.
But I like that.
Anyways, on back to Dead Space and the final part of this video.
Okay, yeah, so co-op mode is amazing. Every game should have co-op mode, but the game should really be designed with co-op in mind. And
or Metal Gear also. That game's freaking awesome with co-op.
Peace Walker had really good co-op too?
Yeah. Had a lot of co-op centric things.
I need to buy that game. We should totally play Peace Walker co-op at some point. I will buy the game just to do that.
Yes.